All right, you there?
Nope.
Good. I'll do the show without you.
In the first aeon, I was the Great Spirit. In the second aeon, men knew me as the Horned God, Pangenitor, Panphage. In the third aeon, I was the Dark One, the Devil. In the fourth aeon, men knew me not, for I am the Hidden One. In the fifth aeon, I appeared before you as Baphomet, the god before all gods who shall endure to the end of the earth. In this new aeon, I appear to you as CMN.
Imagine that there is a brilliant white light just above.
Is commentary on the magic art.
In the years of the primal force and the dawn of terrestrial birth.
Oh, that was very educational.
Now magic will take place. Don't be fooled by what I just said.
Welcome, everyone. I am Show Ya Moves Kennedy, and this is Chaos Magick News, the only podcast that's not just talking about the end of the American dream, we're actually doing something about it. We're moving to Uruguay. Joining me, as always, is my almost utopian co-host, Sir Thomas More or Less. How are you doing, Thomas?
I love it. I'm getting my passport ready. Uruguay or bust, baby.
Utopia, or I guess Uruguay.
They both start with a U. It's the same thing. How are you doing?
I am wonderful. I couldn't have asked for a better day at this point.
What's going on in this episode?
Well, we got quite a bit to talk about. For once, we got some occult news.
Which, if you've listened to the previous episodes, you know that's never a good thing.
No, definitely not. But also, we're going to talk about, well, I mean, we haven't done one of these in a while, right? We're going to do
a good episode?
Well,
a
no,
good episode. CMN finally made a good episode. Yeah, right. It almost sounds convincing.
That's a joke for me. We're going to do a shitty occult article roundup. What's that, you say? Well, if you haven't watched the show before, every now and then we like to sit down and just flick through some goofy little occult things that we found that people decided to, I guess, share with the public instead of burning in a furnace. All your favorites will be there, I'm sure. Like, and other than that, we also have the news that we're going to go into, as we always do. Fun stuff happening there. Pretty much updates on everything we did in the last episode, which is kind of a record, I think.
Yeah, we're having a good turnaround this week.
But first, we're going to start with a opening topic inspired by friend of the show, Seth Salem. Hey, Seth. I don't know if you're listening or not.
I hope so.
I almost hope not.
We need the listeners.
Well, Seth joined the Discord the other day. Oddly enough, they weren't there before. Shocking. They said something that has had me and co-host thinking for kind of a minute on it. It's a real subtle thing, but we just been turning it over our heads like a Zen koan, right? Because Seth said that what he liked about us was that we don't take ourselves very seriously.
And while we're glad that he got that impression, I don't know if that's an accurate thing. I feel like we take what we do very seriously, in that we think occultism is important, and we think doing occultism well is important. And we think that being entertaining for the people that are listening is important. What that doesn't mean, and I guess I think of John Cleese, is where he talked about a lot of times people talk about being serious. What they mean is being somber. Like you have to be very stiff-lipped and you can't joke around. The notion that because you are jovial, because you are comedic, because you are other long-winded, pretentious words, that, multiples of syllables. That what that means is that if you're doing any of those things, it's that you're not taking it seriously. And this is something we've gone back and forth on in terms of occultism too. The doing the Gnostic Mass and the rollerblades thing.
The My Little Pony servitor.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like normally the issue is that a lot of times stuff like that is associated with just doing magic poorly. or magic that isn't very well thought out, or magic that doesn't really mean anything. Those are different. But that's not the same thing as your magic is silly and therefore it's bad, you know?
It would be really nice if we could all just say that anyone doing magic that looks kind of goofy and, makes a point of not presenting itself in a manner that is very high-minded or, I don't know, sacred, maybe would be the word we would use.
I mean, we talk about the stuffy robe tradition,
Right.
But there are people that are very dogmatic and very very strict in their terms of thinking, or I hate to say it like this too, very judgmental in certain ways that are often they tend to bandy themselves about as like, we are the serious occultists. This is important to us. This is a big deal. This isn't, you don't just goof around with this stuff. This is the sacred. And what it is it's what we talked about. It's not that these people take themselves seriously, and they do, but it's that they have no self-awareness or self-effacement. They have no sense that they are kind of silly in a sort of essential way, that the human experience is in a way kind of just inescapably silly.
Right.
And then when you add occultism to the mix, you can't help it. If you haven't had something stupid happen in a way that was occult, magic, spooky, woo-woo oriented, that you couldn't help but laugh at it, you haven't been doing it long enough.
I wasn't even thinking about it in this way, but when you said the dogmatic aspect, that's sort of the problem, right? Is we have a mistaken perception that being dogmatic, being very steadfast in your ideas and not permitting other more out there sort of things is what it takes to be serious about occultism, right? Like, what it means to be serious about occultism is to present this as if you have all the answers and you're just looking for things that fit the bill of proper occultism to begin with, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And there's, and I'm not making a statement about people who have an academic interest or an academic background when it comes to occultism, but there's certain type of individual who does look at this sort of historical academic, what's the really old books say as far as the translation, and they see that as the only proper sort of magic. That's the real magic trademark people,
Yeah. It shows the level of what occultism is for most people, right? Putting aside the sort of presumptions you and I have about the privileged position, as I called it in that recent article, of Chaos Magick, that Chaos Magick, since its debut in the occult world, has dominated. It has taken over, and things that we would not see as Chaos Magick have influence from it by this point, just because of either cultural osmosis or maybe even in a greater sense, the basic idea that for many, Chaos Magick is postmodernism applied to occult practices. And maybe just the fact that we are a thoroughly postmodern society means that everything slowly becomes Chaos Magick.
And what we mean by that, if you haven't thought about it, but like the emphasis on intent over the actual mechanics of ritual, the sort of prevailing sense of mind as a dominating force in the universe.
Right. What was the term I used? I think it was the focus on subjective experience as the primary aspect of magic to be concerned with.
Yeah, and if you'll notice, there are people that are not chaos magicians that will really tick these boxes if you go and look, especially the further you stray from any sort of stuffy robe tradition, I suppose, any formal institution of sort of magical practice. Like when you're online, the folk coyotes are around. Even if they don't think they're a coyote, they really tick all the boxes in a very general way. I don't want to be like, oh, everybody's a chaos magic person because I said so.
But what that becomes, right, is that anyone who doesn't have this sort of emphasis on their own subjective experience, what do they have to give themselves a ground in a standard? Tradition, obviously. Whether that's, thousands upon thousands of years old, you're reading your shit out the Veda, or it's The Golden Dawn tradition, which, 100 years and some change at this point.
Right.
But as you said, what's that ultimately amount to? Especially given that, you can still go join the Golden Dawn. And I guess in the internet age, maybe it's kind of easier, but in a certain sense, like you're not going to go.
You might end up having to interact with David Griffin, and surprised he hasn't come up on this show before. Have we not talked about
I think we made a joke about him, but it was sort of it was a wink and a nod. Like if you know who David Griffin is, you get the joke.
Oh, well, why break from tradition then?
At any rate, what do these people have in an era where you know about these things because you have the internet, but you're still not going to just pop down to your local Golden Dawn chapter if you live in fucking anywhere that's not a very small portion of the country. Books.
Yeah, books. The other thing is that there are a lot of coyotes that are exactly what we're talking about, in that the idea that they are incredibly, I'm trying to think of what the word is, because I don't want to keep using somber, but people that are very, uptight, even though they're coyotes, they're up almost to a level where sometimes you'll find the contradiction of someone who is so uptight in their goofiness.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I think the only difference there is that generally when a coyote starts taking themselves way too seriously, they get such a dense and opaque sort of series of things going on in their practice that they just start coming across as a crazy person.
Yeah, or like, they read too much fucking continental philosophy, right? They'll start using really big words at you. And that's not to, hey, I'm a big fan
of pan-relational.
Yeah, like pan-relational or subjunctive. These sorts of things. The issue being that when you get to that point, it's already because you clearly have some sort of sense of, at root, right? At its core, this is just like a human activity, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only way you get out of saying that this is just another way to spend your time as a human being on this planet is if you do the thing that most coyotes are trying to, at least in theory, avoid. Saying that I know what the big transcendent spooky magic other thing in the world is. And I know that me sitting in my bedroom doing these various rituals that I've cobbled together is leading to some greater metaphysical purpose or some awakening to some greater metaphysical reality. And if you're a coyote, you have to tell yourself, if you're being honest, that is, that at best what you have is a unnameable truth that you're chasing after that you will never get. So it seems to just break from any real sense of like, how are you going to, you know what I mean? Like it's maybe I'm the asshole here because people love hearing these sort of like spooky, like, yes, there's a thing out there that doesn't have a name and it's captured in all religions. Those sorts of ideas. People love that sort of shit. But if you're a Christian, you can be serious about your God because you're telling me that he was a real dude that existed in fucking Palestine. If you're a pagan, you can tell me that I should take this really seriously because the gods exist and they're out there.
But meanwhile, if you're a coyote, you have to fall back on a certain level of arbitrariness and, if not nihilism, almost... I guess just negation of any value. You can't really anything that you hold near and dear, you have to acknowledge is arbitrary and contingent. Hey, Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
Right. And I mean, again, just to get my pragmatism bag on, because I wrote that article anyway. Have I said that enough yet, folks?
I wrote an article. I read stuff and then I write it down. Everybody look at me. That's what you sound like.
Yeah, it's a pretty good impression. You can have value without it being ultimate value. You can have a sense of the sacred. You can have all these sorts of experiences that most of us are dealing with in Chaos Magick without it being grounded in some sort of greater metaphysical reality. This is basic shit. If you understand anything about anything, you can at least understand the idea that something as simple as we all agree money has value. So it has value because we have a society that functions in this way. And that, yeah, I get it. When you're on an island and you have no food, the $4,000 that washed up on the beach with you doesn't have the same kind of value.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what keeps you from getting into this game where you have to take it so seriously. Because if you can accept that in a certain context, in a certain way, the things that I do that are incredibly important to me, the life-changing experiences I've had, the weird things I've managed to do with magic, in a certain sense, are goofy, fucking stupid shit done by a crazy person in a room somewhere.
Yeah.
Because neither of these is an ultimate truth.
Yeah,
Neither of these is a correct representation of a state of affairs in reality. It's none of that. It's just different ways of talking about things. And it makes sense because if anyone has ever had a significant other that they love dearly, but knew was also the worst crazy bitch they've ever met in their life, they know that both of these things can be true. And they're not talking about different things. They're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
She is either the most amazing, beautiful woman you've ever met in your life, or she is a crazy, psychotic bitch that keyed your car.
And they can be simultaneously.
Yeah.
They can be simultaneously true.
They hold nothing for you other than your ability to use them for your own ends.
Yeah. And then the other thing too, to try to bring it down just a little bit more, if you have a proper view of what you're doing, you will be able to laugh at it. You will be able to acknowledge how goofy and silly it can come across. If there is a Christian that you meet that freaks the fuck out when you make a joke about Christianity, that says something about them. When you meet a Christian that can laugh at their own religion, can laugh at things that they acknowledge are kind of silly, that it is showing someone who is capable of taking something and understanding its personal and cultural and whatever you want to call it, its spiritual significance, and understand that this is important, that this is meaningful, but also understand it in a greater context of everyone else. And they can understand that just because something is important doesn't mean that it has to be shielded. And I think something you said a while back during the Book of the Law, the feast day. If you truly believe in the crowned conquering Lord, the Aeon of Horus and all that stuff, then you know that the God that most high Lord of initiation, Lord of the Aeon, cannot be hurt by anybody making jokes about it.
Not at all. Someone once told me in relation,
the world is going to roll me.
Somebody once told me in relation to a goofy little meme that we had made on a previous feast day for the 3 days of writing the Book of the Law, that, if you took this stuff seriously, you wouldn't want to make jokes about it. And at the time, I almost felt a little shame, I guess, maybe. Like, well, maybe he's right. Maybe if I did take this shit more seriously. But the longer I go on, the more I realize that it just seems to me that anyone that is so unwilling to laugh at the things that they value most, really has some sort of hang-up blockage.
You got
that just prevents them. It's just a very basic thing that we deal with in society. And maybe that's almost the point. Because in the society that I'm talking about is, for better or worse, like the open, free, liberal society. The one where everyone's respected as an individual and allowed to do what they care about. Maybe we don't really live in a world like that, but ideally we should live in a world like that.
We should strive for liberation.
Right.
That's what that means. All right. And part of being liberated as a society or as an individual is understanding that there is room for other people. And part of that is being able to I'm not going to say compartmentalize. I'm not saying going to section off your ideas, because if you have earnest beliefs, especially in a grand idealist sort of sense, those are things that should shine through you. That is the light that should pass through you and illuminate the world. If you think that universal compassion and brotherhood is important, that should be reflected in your actions. If you think that there is a true course that all men and women should wake up to, and that should shine through in how you conduct yourself in the world. But you should also understand that means you can't grab everybody by the back of the head and make them understand it.
Yeah, and I again, that's sort of what it comes down to.
Even on a personal level, you should understand that being liberated in a certain sense means that you shouldn't have those sort of, like we said, hang-ups. You should not have those blocks. You should not be afraid that you're going to offend the ineffable. You know?
I think maybe the problem is, whether consciously or unconsciously, and I'm sure plenty of them are doing it consciously, I don't think everyone wants that world. And that's something that's reflected in what they're doing in occultism and what they get out of occultism.
Yeah.
Some of these people genuinely don't want you to be able to have, you know what I mean? Because I genuinely mean this from the bottom of my heart. I think that your My Little Pony servitor is the dumbest fucking thing that anyone could come up with. And I'm so glad you're doing it.
Yeah. And it's like, and I will die for your right to defend it.
It is. I mean,
I will die defending your right to do it.
It's the only value that I feel it's the only, if human freedom isn't ultimately part of the goal of your occultism, then I don't know what the fuck you're doing here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just don't. I mean, again, this is probably more for the chaots than anybody, obviously, if they're listening to the show anyway. But if by chance you are someone that has some, I don't know, idea of like the hierarchy of being and man's place in it and how we all need to make ourselves subservient to something metaphysically greater than us, fuck off. I don't want you here. Get off my show. I'm serious. Go. Go.
Well, you know, and I think this is the last thing I'll say on it, because we've covered a lot of, man, we sprinted here. I think on another level too, there might be, and this is just sort of speculating and sort of thinking, trying to get inside the head of certain people. Maybe certain people are worried that if they don't show how seriously they take this, and when I say seriously, I mean seriously in quotes, real magic, trademark. If they don't show how hardcore, dedicated and disciplined and no nonsense they are about it, maybe they won't believe it. You know what I mean? It's
maybe
like,
maybe they really won't.
Maybe they realize how flimsy their ideas are, and that if they were left open to mockery, or left open to even a personal level of flippancy, maybe the center wouldn't hold, and they just be sitting there clutching their broken wands going, what have I done? What have I done?
Everyone realizing that the magician has no clothes. Anyway.
Emperor card where he's just butt naked. How's no one done that yet? Call the boys in graphic design. That's just me, isn't it?
I was about to say, like, that's you. Well, and Coco. You and Coco. You're the two-man CMN team. Coco. Draw a naked emperor.
I'm passing the buck to you. I think the music goes here.
Now it's time for everyone's favorite part of the show.
It's when we roll up our sleeves, when we loosen our tie, when we shout to the skies, and we ask, what's in the news? In a previous life, we were cicadas.
What is in the news indeed?
Boy, we have got
updates.
Stop. Update! Last night, somebody broke in and stole over $500 worth of shit from my place!
God.
Update! Oh,
someone...
All of that serious talk we had about not taking ourselves seriously, and now we're here with Tourette's guy.
Someone stole over $200 of my
updates.
Y'all remember that thing with Signal and leaking military plans, and how I said it was going to happen again, and then it happened again?
Yeah. You said within a year.
Within a year.
It's
and
been
then I
like
also
a month and a half.
Yeah. And I also gave the caveat of it's because they're still using Signal or something like that. This man just don't want to learn.
In Pete Hegseth's defense, allegedly, he was doing it at the same time as the other one.
Oh, well, that's fine.
It was with his wife and his brother-in-law this time. I'm sure they're very secure.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
I don't know what Pete Hegseth's like wife or his brother-in-law does, but I just imagine she's like some fucking she's like a phlebotomist somewhere or something.
I work at Costco.
And she's just sitting there like taking blood from some guy going, oh yeah, we're going to bomb Yemen. We're going to blow the fuck out of him. My husband said so. Well, no, he's a fucking, I don't know. Actually, I have no clue what the fuck Pete Hegseth did before he showed up in my news feed.
What? He was Fox. He was a Fox pundit.
Oh, was he?
What? Did you not?
So his wife could be like a phlebotomist.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane. When you think about the fact that he's probably the target of numerous surveillance attempts, and there's a lot to be gained, and then you already know that he is a vulnerable target. You'd probably start looking at his family, wouldn't you? You know, people closer. Who does he talk to? Shit, maybe he let something slide with them. So this is a gross incompetence thing again, and we talked about it already. But I just want to point out that I was right, and that thing that I said was going to happen happened.
Well, it's the curse of the CMN, right? You know,
I would say
every time we talk about something weird and just kind of offhandedly, it tends to happen. But maybe that's just a matter of you say the most obvious thing that's going to happen.
It's Christopher Hyatt. It's, say the most obvious thing that's going to happen. And if you're right, 25% of the time, you're a miracle worker. We're at 10% right now. We're going to get that number up, though.
All right. We have to make more outrageous claims.
What? Wait a second. A baby dropped into a nuclear reactor.
Oh, no.
Nuclear baby.
He's got powers. Oh, no.
Yeah, let's hope that headline comes to fruition.
Nuclear baby takes over Soviet Union. Former Soviet Union.
No, can't do that because I'm still pulling hard for the wolves at Chernobyl.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. You know what I've been wanting to do? And this is going to completely sidetrack everything.
What?
So, that song Werewolves in London?
Yes.
I want to do a version and it's just wolves at Chernobyl. So ooh, wolves at Chernobyl. Ooh. I saw my man Kennedy walking down with the Queen. Doing the wolves at Chernobyl. It's perfect, right? Everyone look forward to my parody album coming out of just songs about Chernobyl wolves and different headlines that you already forgot about.
Oh,
okay,
God.
what else happened to them? What
Hungry
else
like Chernobyl wolves. God. Oh, God, sorry. Okay, update. 4chan is back.
Oh, man, yeah. I actually expected it to be down a lot longer.
So did they. There was a statement from Grape Ape, one of the infamous 4chan monitors, who's a piece of shit from what I hear. But you probably knew that. But he said expect it back up by next week, and then it was up again the next day. Well, folks, I don't often tell you guys what you should and shouldn't do, but I'm gonna lay it on the line here. Don't go back to 4chan.
At least for a little while. If they got compromised that quick,
don't go back there. They're gonna the feds have definitely taken over at this point, is all I'm saying.
I mean, if you're going to, just go ahead and get the Ashley Madison account while you're at it. Just put your whole life on display.
Yeah, just show everybody.
Just cut your camera on and log into Twitch and just leave it on.
24-hour live stream.
I've got nothing to hide.
Which is good because, well, you know what? I'll save that segue. Yeah, I mean, there's not really a whole lot to say about it. 4chan's back. I didn't expect it to even come back, but it's back.
Yeah, it's just more of I didn't expect it to be back that quick at the bare minimum, and now it's back. But
yeah, but also don't go there, please. I'm begging you.
Maybe stay just for your own
give it
personal,
a week. Give it a week or two.
Give it a little bit.
A month.
Yeah. Okay. More updates. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who we mentioned, it turned out he was alive. So that was surprising. They're still doubling down, going, nah, we ain't gonna.
He's never coming back.
He's never coming back. He's never, ever, 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 ever coming back.
Never, ever, ever. Never, ever, ever, ever. Never, ever will I let you come back in my country.
So apparently, it was Homeland Security, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. The Department of Homeland Security shared the protective order from 2021, which is, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to say, well, he was no angel and this is a bad guy. That means, due process doesn't matter.
Right. Because if you're a bad person, nothing matters. And I mean, just to go sidetrack here, but like, that's the reality of this shit, because it's not just the right. It's not just the Trump people that do this. All these fucking people are like this at this point. No one has any goddamn principles. They would rather destroy their fucking enemies and then just cry foul when bad things happen to them. You made this system. You made it like this. You've destroyed any.
Take a breath. It's gonna be okay, big dog. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna make it. We're gonna be all right.
We're gonna make it. We're gonna be all right.
Look, but the whole point is that because they did that, they shared her fucking address. Now, here's my question. Here's why it's like, is this just incompetence or is this malicious? Because it couldn't have been very hard to hide that address. Like, you did, 10 seconds to mark it out? Did they do this because really they want to share her personal information and get her jammed up because like she yakking? But I don't want to be too conspiratorial and say that, but it just feels kind of, it was too easy to not do that.
Doesn't even matter at this point. Does the fact that the things they're doing are causing just abject damage in pretty much every field. And it's like, why are we even concerned on whether or not it's because they're doing it intentionally, if they're doing it because they're idiots? Because they're indistinguishable at this point.
Their argument is that this was a public document that anyone could get access to. And it's like, well, that's not the same. Like, that's still...
You're the Department of Homeland Security. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, anyone could get it? But anyone could technically look through my window and see me jerking my fucking gherkin. But it's like, if fucking NBC was out there with a camera, you know what I mean? Like, well, anyone could have seen it if I happened to be out there. It's like, what the... It's ridiculous.
Yeah. In the further squabbles, 2 different judges have been arrested. And one was noted as having an undocumented immigrant in his home, who I believe was, I want to make sure he was part of the Tren de Aragua. I'm probably saying that all
part of the charm,
but he was a gang member, which is just so fucking crazy. Like, what? You had what kind of... It almost sounds like a drama, like a Lifetime movie. Like, he was the gang member, and then we took him in to help him turn his life around. But you're a judge. It's like, what is? But it's
the
just
SVU episode.
Yeah, it's just fucking weird. That's like, why was that going on?
Why was that guy at Nancy Pelosi's husband's place? These are questions we'll never really have the answers to, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
What the political elite do and what the bureaucratic or the judiciary does is a mystery to us plebs.
The other one is the idea is that a judge intentionally misdirected federal agents away as they were attempting to arrest someone in a courthouse. So I don't know if she was like, he went that away.
The judge was reported to have drawn a tunnel onto a brick wall.
Oh boy.
We're back in that territory of things that are being done that are legal, but we can't accept as they're unacceptable. Like, the state shouldn't be allowed to do this regardless of whether there's any bullshit notion of legality behind it.
It's the thing that this is clearly trying to set a precedent of like scaring judges into compliance of like, don't, because the entire point was that they told one of the officers, they said, well, you don't have the right type of warrant to arrest this person. And they're like, well, no, like we don't care, because they don't. And then there's a whole other thing with as of right now, the Department of Justice is basically saying like, no, we don't need a warrant. If we think you are like an immigrant or an illegal alien, whatever the hell you want to call it, in your home, we don't need a warrant.
Right.
It's like the suspicion itself. And they're doing that to try to just cover their ass because they've already fucked up so much.
Right. Yeah. That's sort of it would be one thing if it was like massive power grab, which it is obviously, but in the sense of like trying to set this already as a precedent. What it is that they've done so much shit already that they're scrambling to explain.
Yeah.
They're scrambling to explain it and say, no, we can do that. I don't know what you're talking about.
But it's basically, it's the same thing of like, you'd be surprised how many police officers don't actually know the law. So like they'll arrest you for something. Like there's cases of people getting arrested for stuff, and then it's like, well, they didn't actually do anything. You were not in your rights to arrest this person right now. They hadn't done anything to warrant.
Yeah, there's like whole YouTube channels where the whole point is just to be like, hey, check out how well this person knows their own rights while they're being arrested. And
yeah,
check it out. This is how much they got from the lawsuit.
Yeah, but then it's also always the same thing of like the shit kickers don't care about the law. They're here to grab.
They're not there for that.
Yeah, they're here to be jump out boys.
Yeah, they're here to maintain.
Shut up. Yeah, shut up. Get in the van. You know.
Yeah,
and it's one of those that it's bleak and fucked up, but it's also one of those where when you accept that that's what the score is, a lot of things make a lot more sense.
Yeah, because you'll tire yourself. I mean, that's the entirety of the no faith in institutions idea anyway, right? When it comes down to it.
Absolutely.
Because if you walked around thinking that everything worked the exact way that the system is set up to work, quote unquote, then you would drive yourself fucking insane trying to make sense of it. When you accept that these are all just like clambering idiots and people with bad intentions mixed together, maybe with the occasional person that has a genuine belief that what they do is doing the right thing, which, you know, it doesn't mean it is, but it's that game of how things are supposed to operate versus how they really operate, which is always fun, you know? Yeah. All our neurodivergent friends are like, yeah, welcome to my world.
Yeah.
Where everything operates under these background implicit rules that I have no clue what the fuck we're doing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But, and then I think here's a fun thing, all right? Like, look at your job and just go through an average day and count how many times you do not do things by the prescribed method. I don't care if it's like a safety violation, like a OSHA, don't say it 3 times or they'll show up. I don't care if it's like, man, you didn't have your seatbelt when you were driving the forklift, or if it's like, say you're filing paperwork and it's like, oh man, I was actually supposed to fill out this form and this form, but you know what? I'm just going to run it on through. Fuck it.
I dated this incorrectly, but it's fine. Whatever. I did it yesterday now.
Yeah. I'm supposed to go through Sheila if I want to make any kind of, if I want to make any sort of purchases here, but I know I can just actually go over to Bennett, who's over in the other department, and he'll just get it for me and whatever. It's like, shit, I'm not going to wait 4 hours for this. Shit. I need paper clips now or whatever the fuck. I've never worked in an office. So.
Well, yeah, the point being is that so much of this, and it's not, you know what I mean? And we're not even just talking about like, oh, you're not following the rules. We're talking about like the rules that everyone accepts and normally deals with that don't even really apply.
But then the other thing is like, even when you start thinking about it, because I think, especially with like people that are closer to what we do of like blue collar jobs that are associated with like actual production or getting certain things done within a certain time frame, those sort of things. And then imagine if you had to follow all of the prescribed rules and then realize how much less you would get done.
Right.
That feels like that's a very real phenomenon for a lot of people. Of like, man, if we actually did things how we were supposed to, shit, we'd get nothing done.
Yeah, and when you realize that everyone is doing that, including the Department of Justice, you know what I mean?
Including the people who have guns and
including the people whose job it is to make you follow the rule.
Yeah, it's crazy.
What a tangle web we've weaved.
What a tangle web we've weaved. Speaking of rules and breaking them, Junior. I call him Junior.
I call him Junior.
Oh man, actually, never mind. Update. The Health and Human Services is walking back the idea of a new autism registry.
Yeah, that's the exact thing you do when you...
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
As part of a $50 million new autism research effort.
This is what I'm talking about when I'm saying, oh, we fucked up and then scrambling backwards. Right? No, I mean, we didn't mean like a registry. We just meant like, like
we're going to
help them, I guess.
Yeah, we're going to just, we want to get to the cause.
And, find a solution to it. That's what they want to do.
Yeah, but it started where they were saying they were going to access private medical records and use that to develop part of a registry, because Not enough people self-report. Not enough people sign up for the eugenics list. Which
we asked everybody if they were autistic, and a lot of them didn't answer.
And all of 4chan said yes. Even the ones that weren't.
Well, they used another word.
Oh, but yeah, I'm glad to hear that they're walking it back already. Maybe just because they saw how grossly unpopular, or there's a real possibility that Junior didn't know what he was talking about. He was just like, "It sounds like a good idea." Well, you see, we're gonna put them on we're gonna put them on a list. We're gonna put them on a registry so we can figure out how many people of them have autism, and then figure out which of them are paying taxes. You know, if you're autistic and you go into a store, you don't pay sales tax. It's crazy.
Oh my God.
I don't know that guy's system. This McDonald's is outrageous. I'm going to spend my last dollar on me. Okay, well, that's good. It's good that but I really do. I stand by what I said last episode, man. This guy he just thinks he thinks it's all, he thinks like anybody who's neurodivergent is like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or something. There's like people that are like him that go through the Jungian, that are like, I went to my Jungian analyst and he told me what this dream about Camelot and peeing my pants means. And now I'm individuated.
And now I don't have to pick up animal carcasses off the road anymore. That's not me anymore. But I still do it sometimes. God, could you imagine being RFK's handler and he's like, "Oh, is that a cat?" And you're like, no, Bobby, come on.
Dropping random animal bones around the Capitol to see if he picks them up.
Oh man, what a scumbag. I think this might be our last update. Hey, art of the deal, right? Art of the deal. Everyone's been talking about this in the left, by the way, about how this is like, check out, there's a big reason behind the tariffs. It's going to change the neoliberal order. It's going to, in fact, I think I heard Chris Copeland say something to the effect of how he read somewhere that America is one of the least dependent on other nations. And it's like, but everyone's got these massive, plans about what this tariff scheme was about and how it's going to change capitalism, or it's going to change the structure of global relations and stuff. And what happened? What happened? What was the big change that he was bringing forth? China said no, and then he started walking back the tariffs after they did nothing. Fucking masterful gambit. My God, I can't fucking believe it. He got China to be mad.
He made
China mad. China never gets mad.
He said, "Nah, we ain't doing that." And he was like, "Oh, okay." Oh boy, this is my
problem. This is what I'm talking about when I say that it's like whether they're incompetent or evil is besides the point. But it definitely leans towards incompetent. Because what is this? What is that really? Are you really trying to tell me that was a part of some masterful plan to like devalue the American dollars to, in the way that Nixon did when we left the gold standard or whatever?
The dollar is still plummeting right now. So like there is going to be lasting damage here. But I have a hard time believing that the masterful gambit here is that he's an old geezer. This is a stupid headline, and this is only the sort of thing that happens under a Trump presidency where everybody gets extra petty and stupid and they report on things that are not news and blah, blah, blah.
Well, I mean, they did complain about Obama wearing a brown suit and shit. So I guess we've sort of always been there.
Sure. Things have gotten worse over time, I think.
Well, I think Trump's funnier too.
Yeah. Well, the Chinese nicknames that he has been graciously bequeathed. One, it translates to the Lord of Eternal Tarriffs, which that's really great.
That's a Yu-Gi-Oh card, right?
Tariff of Greed. Apparently Lord of Eternal Tarriffs. It can also be translated as 10,000 Tariff Grandpa.
Oh my God, dude. I love that one.
I think both of those can be Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I mean, I've been doing those stupid Yu-Gi-Oh edits this whole time. I think I need to make the 10,000 Tariff Grandpa card. I special summon it from my graveyard
By sacrificing the American economy.
I sacrificed the American economy to special summon Tariff Grandpa. Oh boy. Buy 10,000 Tariff Grandpa's deck has no weak cards, Gaiba. But it does have 1,000% tariff.
Oh my god. Holy shit. Okay. All right. Is that all the updates we had?
I think that's all the keeping. Let me see. I just have because I just have Hegseth. I was right. That's pulled up.
I was right. I can't believe it. Oh my god.
Exclamation point. Okay. So up to some more fresh news, I suppose.
You know who ain't fresh?
Don't say it. I can't take it.
Rip Pope Francis, man. Pope Francis.
Pope Francis passed away right after meeting with JD Vance, dude.
Yeah, right.
I'm curious when he got out of the hospital if it was because they knew that's like, yeah, he's done for. But
allegedly he was like, no, I'm going to keep doing as much as humanly possible because I know my time is limited.
Yeah, well, it was one of those like, fuck, do you want to spend Easter in the hospital, Francis, or do you want to get up there one more time? You know what I mean? I know he wasn't singing "Hello, my baby, hello, my honey," but he was there.
Yeah, I mean, and he made it to Easter Monday before he passed. So
yeah,
yeah.
A controversial figure, but he pissed off a lot of the very conservative Catholics. So yeah, he didn't do terrible in my book. About as decent as you can expect from a pope, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, he's the patriarch of a vestige of Rome that has gone on into the modern era in disturbing
the empire
ways.
Never ended.
The empire, yeah, it didn't, and he was right there. But it's always weird because it's like when I read, and you're gonna realize something about me that's really dumb here, folks. I read the last couple writings of Pope Benedict actually right after he died. And everyone makes the Hitler Youth jokes and he looks like Palpatine and yada yada. But like he honestly and fervently went against the current state of affairs in he talked about capitalism. He was talking about capitalism and how the church doesn't approve of this and how it's the kind of world we live in is not one that is the world that Christ would want
conducive
us to live. Which is arguably, I guess a lot of people would say, well, that's the point, Benedict. But, so in a certain sense, I've always kind of known that there's these weird pockets of genuine Christian goodness in even the fucking popes, who are these overall just explicitly bad figures for the most part. I mean, I would wager there are more terrible fucking popes than there were even marginally redeemable ones.
It's the same thing as like political power. I mean, the Pope is political power. It's just through a church rather than a government.
Right.
You don't get that high up in the game unless you did fucked up shit.
Right. Or you toe the line in a way that deals with that lets the fucked up shit go on.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know what? Like the really good, dedicated, moral Christians end up doing?
Dying in leper colonies.
Yeah, like they're monks, they're monastics.
Right,
that just try to, or they're people that spend their whole life dedicated to trying to help others.
Yeah, and even then, like a lot of the famous ones that are all important for helping people and shit are also really fucked up, flawed people that did really fucked up shit, like Mother Teresa.
Yeah, that's a huge blow, I think, for a lot of. When you figure out Mother Teresa, it's like Gandhi too.
Oh yeah.
When you find out, it's like, oh man, they did all sorts of horrible shit.
Well, back to what we said earlier. Gandhi let his wife die because he didn't believe in Western medicine. That's a horrible fucking thing. Gandhi is Gandhi is what created Indian independence. Both of these things can be true. They're not reflecting a genuine state of reality, current state of affairs. They're just ways of talking about this guy, Gandhi.
It's just a shame when you are presented with the shiny lily white veneer of purity and then you see the seedy underbelly. It's a wake-up call when you're like young,
Oh, right. Yeah.
I was like a child. I thought Mother Teresa was this great lady, and then you'll find out bad things about her, and it's like, fuck, is anybody good?
Right, yeah.
That's growing up is realizing that people can do good things and be and still do bad things, you know?
Right.
And that's when you have to, at a certain level, on a certain level. I know we talk very casually and talk like this person's evil and this person's a demon and this motherfucker's fucked up garbage person. We're going to get into that in a second, actually. But in a broad picture way, a lot of the times you will find that you cannot say if anybody is good or bad. When you look at the whole of everything they do. Aleister Crowley did some awful shit.
Mm-hmm.
And for some people, it's like, well, he did bad shit. So like
so everything that he's ever said is pointless and off limits.
But then you read like Humanity First, you know, and then you see that he is the foundation. He's the foundation for so much of where Western occultism is now. You know, all these like these tangible benefits to the world that he brought in. And you're like, well, it doesn't make what you did okay. William S. Burroughs is another one. Shot his wife. Yeah, he's written some of the best novels I ever read. Stuff like that. And it's like, does that outweigh it? No, I think the world is a better place for these books having existed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the problem. Like trying to quantify and weigh out the terrible things that William Burroughs did compared to the good things, right? Where we're the proverbial Egyptian scale and finding out if someone's heart's good enough, right? In fact, bad example that we're gonna have to use here just because it's happening. Kanye.
Man, he made Graduation.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. He made Graduation, right? That's the joke. He made Graduation. So,
well, I will say it was one of those and then I didn't mean this as I'm not saying I would be okay with it. I'm not saying oh yeah, but I did say this to somebody when we were talking about it. It's like, how much of this would go away if Kanye dropped one fire ass album?
Right.
And I think the amount of people who would just see all the bullshit that he's done, all of the provocateur, all the insanity, all of that nonsense, and they would just be like, yeah, yay, crazy. But man, did you hear this?
Right.
World War III /Cuck is album of the year, bro.
He literally made it all in one night, stuffed into a gym locker on an iPad. It's the best thing I've ever heard in my life. It changed me.
Do we want to talk about the Kanye thing, or are we gonna just go past?
No, that's all we need to say. What am I gonna? Is it news? Is it news that he sucked his cousin's dick? Is that news? I don't think it's really news.
I just feel really bad because Kanye is clearly unwell, and he's been unwell for a long time, and nobody stepped up.
I said that to somebody at work, I think, where I made the comment, it's insane to think that because Kanye is such an influential figure and he's got so much money, or maybe not because he's declared, but he's still in that world. But because he did all that, he gets to just have what is clearly the most ridiculous of mental health episodes, and nobody actually does anything about it.
But then it also turns into well, yeah, you might be mentally unwell. Does that mean that you have a blank check to do anything bad and we're all supposed to just be okay with it?
Oh, well, yeah. It's a crock of shit. We're stirring up there. It's such a big. Yeah. That's probably why we're not really talking about Kanye. I just wanted to make a Graduation joke.
All right. So stop me if you heard this one before. You're the Secretary of Homeland Security.
Oh no.
And you have a bag that's got your ID, your lip balm, I think your cell phone, and $3,000 in cash?
Like you do.
Why are you carrying around that much money? You got a drug deal you're going to, or are you about to bribe somebody? What is going on? And it got stolen just out from under her. And I don't think they found the guy yet.
I haven't heard anything about it. If it happens by the time I put out this episode, it'll be updated right here.
Update!
Yeah, a arrest was made in this case. 2 people, they've been called serial offenders and had no knowledge or connection to Noem.
I just don't understand. This is what I'm talking about. She had a security detail and shit, right? What are you?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Do you think the person that stole it knew who she was?
That's a tough call. I feel like if you have a security detail, they know you're important, and that's good enough. The fact that they got away with it is shocking, though. Like, they really just snatched that shit. Like, how disconnected from your shit are you? I don't know, man. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a paranoid, but I'm one of those people that like puts my wallet in the front pocket because I know that I'd feel it and that kind of shit. You know what I mean? Like, but I guess, I don't know. I've never carried around a bag either. Definitely not with that much money in it.
Why were you carrying that much? And like, you know, like the amount of cash is insane, but also like your department badge.
Well, where else are you going to put it, you know?
But it's like, if you're going to put those, and you're like, oh, well, this is security detail's fault or whatever. But like it said that it got snatched out from under her seat.
I mean, that's what I'm getting at. It's like, isn't that like, you know, the whole point is that if you're, oh God, hang on. Homeland Security said she felt brushed against her leg as the thief dragged away purse. Oh, she was having a meal with her grandkids. So, you know what? As much as I don't like Kristi Dog Killer Noem, I'll give you that. There's no way I'm paying attention to my fucking bag when I got like 4 little rugrats yelling at me saying, Grandma, I want more mashed potatoes.
When you got $3,000, I think I would. I think about like, little Timmy, I know you don't like Brussels sprouts, but listen, I got a lot of money on me. I will make it worth your while. Come on. Do you want a pony? Grandma, get you a pony.
Yeah, that's what she had the money for.
Yeah,
buy him a pony.
She's going to buy the kid a pony.
You know what the worst thing about that is? It was 4 grandkids. That means that she was going to spend $1,000 on 3 of them and then make the other one watch.
She's going to put the other one down. This is just one of the most absurd headlines of our time. That's all I can say. It's like, it's crazy.
It's very goofy.
When this person gets caught, if they get caught, they're going to be a fucking legend. In the same way of like the outlaw, you know, the outlaw folk heroes like Luigi.
Here's the thing though, like it's just $3,000 in a bag. Like the bag's gonna get tossed or thrown in a lake or fucking destroyed. And
I
really
it's a
like fucking bags. You know what I
really,
mean? Like a passport.
I really like the idea that he didn't know who the fuck he grabbed it from, and then he opened it and was like, "Holy shit, I fucked up! Oh God, I fucked up! Bad.
It turned into one of those like shitty Seth Rogen comedies. Like, I stole from the Department of Homeland Security.
What? Oh, bro, what am I gonna do? He fucking just like ditches the bag and the badge and everything else.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, because more than likely, he's not gonna, if he hasn't gotten caught already, and unless someone's making it like their absolute business to be like, no, we are gonna get this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Unless that happens, then you know they're not gonna catch him because he's not gonna sell the bag.
Somebody on the security detail actually did it. Oh man, that'll be wild. So all right.
Do we have confirmation that she actually had security of any kind?
Yeah. They're wondering what the hell her security was doing. But like, also, what were you doing carrying that much money? Like, I keep coming back to that. Why were you carrying that much money? To show the grandchildren who's her favorite. Clearly. Didn't your grandma do that? My grandma made me and my cousin fight in the backyard for like 20 minutes to see who got a birthday that year. The only thing my grandma carried in a bag was like a Glock 9. Unloaded. You know, she didn't want to like shoot a kid accidentally, but she definitely, you know, go upside your head with it a good number of times.
She just pointed at you and be like, now you know what grandma's going to do if you keep not eating your vegetables.
Abuela, no. She hated when I called her that.
Yeah, because she was German.
Oh, boy. Oh, that's so stupid.
Yeah, it's really bad.
This whole bit. Cancel this whole bit.
Cancel the whole show.
Oh, boy.
Maybe we need to take ourselves more seriously.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Do we want to go into the occult part of the occult news?
Yes, we do.
I need you guys to keep all of this in mind while we're bringing this up. This is not an attempt to jump on the bandwagon for drama. This is not an attempt to cause muckraking or stirring the pot just to court controversy or anything like that.
That's the next segment.
Yeah. This is sort of your annual reminder to be critical of strong personalities and loud personalities in various occult spheres, and being aware that they can do damage and they will attempt to use their notoriety to shove people around or defend themselves when people start coming for them.
And there are equally stupid and possibly
they're
maleficent people that are willing to stick up for them and excuse this nonsense.
Yeah, and you don't want to do that.
It's a bad look.
It's a bad look. So I'm going to just read the title of this document, and it's going to tell you pretty much everything you need to know. Christian Day and the Weaponization of Power in Pagan Spaces, a documented timeline and community action report, prepared by Krys Copeland, former member of Witchcraft TV, for Witchcraft TV and the broader pagan community. You want to go ahead and get the jokes out of the way, because this is what Christian Day is being not just accused of. Like, this is showing, this document and a cursory look at the facts of the situation confirms enough of this that it's not really a question if this person is guilty of these sort of abuses that are being levied at them.
Yeah. Krys Copeland did a lot of legwork putting this all together, so shout out to them for their work, and we wish them luck in whatever they're doing after this.
Yeah, getting the jokey jokes out of the way. A pagan person named Christian, that should have been your first red flag.
Yep, should have been Pagan Day.
God, that's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And I hate to be like this, but if you look at this person, I don't like dogging people out about
no, they're a
too
fucking
much.
clown.
But they look goofy as fuck. They got like their mama's eyeliner on, and
they look like an episode of like Charmed, kind of.
They look like the joke occultist that you build in your head.
When you're arguing with some idiot online that's like,
this is who you imagine they look like.
Yeah.
And in the early 2010s, they were notable because them and their coven or whatever the fuck, Charlie Sheen said something about like warlocks, and they got upset about that, and they like, what? Yeah.
That's fun.
Sheen's mischaracterization was a blatant offense to our ways and teachings. So they got headlines because it's like, oh man, Charlie Sheen gets cursed by Salem witches.
Wow, we have an unconscious theme running through this episode again, don't we?
Which one's that?
What, people taking themselves way too seriously or taking others way too seriously. What the fuck? It's an offense to our way of life. Like, what the fuck, dude?
Meanwhile, this is when Charlie Sheen, I believe, is being like cracked out as fuck.
Right.
Like, that's
yeah.
the
Like
entire,
this is
when
he's
Tiger
messed
Blood,
up. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you should not be paying attention to anything this man said, but it was a different time. I understand that. It was a different time. This is still fucking silly as shit. So what we see already is generally a very goofy individual who seemed probably a little eager to get out in front of people by doing stupid stuff like this.
Yeah, he's selling books and probably does he do like
written multiple
consultations
books
and shit like that too?
Probably he'll give you
the 9th degree for a cheeseburger.
Yeah, like, pretty much that type. They're goofy. They like that's so those are the jokes aside. All right. What's not funny is the gross amount of abuse that this person has been a party to. And I'm not going to go through this whole document and read everything off. If you want to find it, it's super easy. It's
we'll link it in the metadata even.
Yeah, it's a couple searches away pretty much. But a few notable things brought into court, not once, but multiple times for harassment of people.
Okay.
Doing things like nonstop phone calls, cyber stalking, those sort of things. Documented court cases of like this happened. Lost a lawsuit, had criminal harassment. Do you realize how bad you got to be fucking with somebody to actually lose a criminal harassment case?
Yeah, it's remarkably harder.
And one of them was like an old, like a grandma level, like an old woman. So he's beefing with like he's beefing with like a 60-year-old lady or some shit like that. And it's because, hey man, you know what happens in occult spheres? You find somebody that you see as like competition because they're in your scene or your area. And then you try to drag them down because you're a weird loser.
Right.
It's more likely than you think.
Gotta sell books.
He's got, protection orders and restraining orders getting thrown at him left and right. A lot of online stuff of throwing his weight around. I'm a big fucking deal. Everybody who has a problem with me, I'm going to fucking get you. you're
I'm gonna get you.
out.
I'm going to get you.
Yeah, like legit. Saying things like people are lying about me, and then like the lies are the things that you can like pull court documents up for. I found a notable screenshot of, and this is going to be I don't do this a lot, but like I don't want to say this out loud and then have nobody feel like they weren't warned. If sexual assault, even like comments about it kind of make you get a little queasy, just skip a couple seconds ahead. Somebody who had a known stalker at the time, and he said, I hope your stalker has some fun with you. If he rapes you, please call out my name while he does.
What the fuck?
Yeah. This document has multiple links backing up what's talking about. This is just an unsavory individual who maybe back 10 years ago, this type of bullshit would slide a lot more because the internet was. So, and the internet is still a horrible, gross place, but like, I guess maybe sometimes that shit flew in certain circles more. There's loads of instances for this. And so I'm not going to go through this whole document and stir up every little thing. That was just one that really stuck out on me. That, like, can you imagine what has to be going on in your mind because there's no context that makes that okay.
No.
There's nothing this person could have said or done to you where it's like, that is an appropriate thing to say at all. And it's just sort of gross. And I don't want to dog on Witchcraft TV too, because I looked them up. They've got less viewers and followers and stuff than we do. And that's saying something.
Yeah, that takes effort. You usually have to say something like Mr. Christian Day did to get your views down that low.
Yeah. But the point being that the president of Witchcraft TV, I don't know how many people you need to have like a live stream. I mean, like you press the button. But Mr. Harold Carter, who's the president, made a unilateral decision to have Christian Day on without prior consultation or consent from the board. And Krys Copeland really didn't care for that and said like, hey, this is fucked up. You shouldn't be doing it. And they were like, well, tough titty. So they left. And that's where this comes out of.
Right.
So what I want to point out is that this would, in a very general way, right? This would be the equivalent of if I said, hey, I got a Donnie Diddler on for an interview, and you were like, why the fuck would you not tell me that? And then when you said that, I was like, well, tough. It's already done. It's up. Who cares?
Yeah.
You had associates and people that worked on this with you, and then you were just like, nah, I'm going to do this. And rather than talking to anybody or running it by anybody, you just did it and then said, fuck you, I don't care. And that's pretty shitty to people who are supposed to be like, I understand it says the president. I don't know if this is an LLC. I don't know if there's real money. See, that sounds mean, but it's like,
but we don't have a board. We're two guys.
This is a small time operation. Just like
I'm
our
president,
show.
You're vice president. That's it.
Wait, what?
I'm kidding. I'm vice president. I'm vice president. That way, when you die, I get to be president.
I am president and vice president. So just so you think you can take me out and take over. But they made a big deal about it. He was like, tough titty, I'm going to do it anyway. And when other people came through and were like, hey, this guy does a lot of fucked up stuff, he was like,
yes, he was Hound Dog.
Yeah, way to go, Hound Dog. Professional podcasting. Bet Witchcraft TV wouldn't do this shit. But when they said, hey, tough titties, who cares? I'm doing it anyway. And then survivors came through and were like, hey, this is fucked up. He blocked them, deleted comments and things like that.
Yeah.
And then put out a statement on their page saying like, these didn't happen. These are, misinformation and hurtful allegations without proof is not. And so I think that was Chris's response was like, yeah, okay, you're saying this didn't happen, so I'm going to put out a thing where there's screen grabs of the stuff that I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm going to give you every bit of proof you would need necessary to say that this is fucked up.
And the problem is I found an article from over, 10 years ago about like one of the harassment cases that he lost. So like it's not just coming out of the blue. There were news people, and I understand with news people, it's like, it's really funny that two witches are arguing in court. But this is like something that happened. I mean, like, now that I say that, it's like, well, Madison Crowley. It is funny when witches go to court. But Mathers and Crowley were arguing about like, the secret chiefs told me to do this, and we can't subpoena the secret chiefs. This is like Christian Day is carrying out a harassment campaign against me, and I have like heart mats. I'm already on the edge. Not to make light of it, it's just like this is before any of this, it's like it doesn't take much. And again, this isn't about just bawling out this one individual. This is to make a point that there are 100, 1,000, 100,000 existing or potential Christian Days out in all these occult circles, which is why you need to cultivate discernment.
Yeah. I mean,
and I feel really bad for anybody who is taken in by this person, because a cursory glance at the stupid shit that comes out of their mouth and the horrible behaviors they engage in makes me wonder, how are you selling books? It must be because people just don't know you or anything about you.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, we wouldn't know about any of this shit if we didn't just see a thing. We had no clue.
Yeah, I will say full disclosure. I didn't know who this person. Full disclosure. We had to ask who this person was to figure out if we were going to talk about it on the show. If this was just like, this is a bigwig in a Facebook group or something, I wasn't going to talk about it. But this guy is supposedly a big
he's
deal.
noteworthy enough to have been in the news. That's more than we can say.
Probably for the best.
When he inevitably sues us for slander, we'll be in the news. Because it's funny when wizards go to court.
When wizards go to court. That might be the title.
Yeah.
When wizards go to court.
Yeah. The thing is, I know people who listen to this show are not going to be taken in by types like that. And that's sort of the issue, right? Like we're not a show that is accessible for the kind of people that would be taken in by this. That's almost by design.
But at the same time, just because Day might be a very loud
and obvious one,
exaggerated, borderline cartoonish version of this, doesn't mean that there aren't people like that. And I think it's interesting to me that, granted, Witchcraft TV is a small-time operation like ours. So there is the question of platforming. And I know there's people that we've talked about getting on the show that we ultimately decided, like, I don't think it's a good idea to give them more exposure.
Yeah.
If they're going to get around, they can get around without our help, And I'm very dicey about like trying to get people completely blighted from the net and kicked off this site and kicked off that site, whatever. I understand that can be sketchier territory, but when it's your house, you got to have some standards.
When the neighbors come knocking on the door, it's going to be your house that they open. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I almost said when the cops come knocking, but I don't want to imply that, because it's not about some bullshit idea of legality or the state. I'm talking about like when you have to answer for the people around you. Why'd you promote this guy? Yeah.
And we did make the comment about the idea that people are complicated and can't be necessarily good or bad, but it's also the difference between, I like William S. Burroughs. I like Aleister Crowley. If they were around and kicking today, I probably would have second, third thoughts about whether or not they were somebody that I should be giving lip service to, or if there's somebody I should be having on here. Mr. Day doesn't actually need to be in the same conversation as those two. Those two are objectively great in their field. This guy got his sister's eyeliner on.
Well, yeah, I mean, did you look at any of his shit? It's garbage. It's absolute garbage.
Trash.
It's dreck. It belongs in the trash. It belongs under the jail. He belongs under the jail. There's not a redeeming quality in here. The fact that this person is so undeniably bad in all fields and so notable has to be some kind of joke.
And it's probably because we have low standards. We need better bad guys for occultism. Shit, at least Aquino was a spook.
This community deserves
a better class.
Yeah,
so criminal. Chaos Magick Joker.
All right. Is that all we have to say about Mr. Should Have Been Pagan Day?
Yeah, I think so. And like I said, this wasn't the goal of this wasn't to necessarily raise awareness about a trash person who I think most of our listeners would be like, this guy sucks without any assistance.
I think most people would.
But this was to make a point that we need to practice discernment with folks like this, whether it's this guy or whoever's podcast you're listening to, that sort of thing, except for us.
We're completely fine. And you can trust us.
We've never done anything bad ever. And
there's no way you can describe us in a negative light.
Yeah, we have the objectively best occult podcast on the net
that gives you the best objectively correct subjective experience.
Yeah. All right, moving on.
Taking off from there, the idea of you listener, yes, you, developing your magical discernment is something that we're going to talk about in this next segment.
Sort of.
Yeah, well, sort of.
Mostly we're going to be jerks.
Yeah. You should be able to discern that most of these are not good. In no particular order, or do you have somewhere you want to start with?
No. I'm going to let you take the reins on this mostly. So wherever you want to start.
Okay, well, in that case, do you want a Nazi or Nazi adjacent?
Which is which?
I don't know. Find out.
Pick the Nazi.
All right, so Varg, right?
Maybe do we need a little bit of explanation for who Varg Vikernes is? Vikernes.
He was in Mayhem, the black metal band,
and he killed his bandmate.
Yeah, he stabbed him 20 times, and he went to prison for 15 years. But it's like Scandinavian prison, so it's like a day spa, I guess, because he came out worse.
Fuck. Came out, yeah, okay.
And it's bad. I mean, that's a feat, right? Like, you stab somebody 20 something times and you come out like a magic Nazi talking about placentas all the fucking time.
All right. So which one are we starting with? Because I know you have two.
Oh, God. Okay. So to call these articles as generous, it's more like the kind of thing that you're used to seeing scrawled in like a composition notebook in crayon.
No, what it is that one of these is very much like the type of thing that you would just see a black screen and then white text and then just an image at the bottom. And it'd be like, really makes you think, huh?
All right. So this is called Thulian Perspective, the Flood. Thulian, if you don't know, is code name for magic Nazi. All mythologies talk about a flood, and some real floods have taken place in this world. But no, the mythology is subjective. All caps.
All caps.
It is not about the collective world. It deals with the world from your perspective. The flood is the water breaking, quote unquote, and what signals your birth. And when you are born, you see the world as it is, parentheses, at that point for the first time. And it is described in mythology as creation, quote unquote. The antediluvian world, quote unquote, Eden, is the womb of the mother. The tree of life / wisdom is the placenta, all caps, transferring all the ancestral knowledge to you via the well of Mimir, parentheses, the umbilical cord, before you are born. The tree of life. And then it's a picture of the placenta. Okay, you thought I was joking about the placenta thing, didn't you, listeners?
This is things look like things, you know.
This is the worst version of things look like things. This is like things look like things, but it's things look like things in reverse, where it's like, no, that's not a Baphomet. That's really a rocket, because the Sumerians had rocket technology. You know what I mean?
No, that's true though. That's facts. Bars. I'm sorry. No, like I said, this is very much like a thing that you would see condensed down to like a picture and just like memed around, like that sort of thing.
Ironically enough, this is almost some shit that you would see the exact opposite of this spectrum thing. This is like, it's not quite some Bobby Hemmett stuff, but you could see it as being Bobby Hemmett adjacent if you just change up the verbiage.
Stuff like this is really interesting because if you're in a spiritual, magical practice, you're going to have insights like this where it's like, oh man, that makes sense. And I'm not sure what to call it. I've heard it referred to as the hyper context before, but that makes it sound like it's a little more granular. The archetype, the world of the archetypes and shit like that.
Yeah.
But it's the net, you know, it's the net is exciting. If anybody remembers that story, I don't know if I told that story.
I think you
but
did.
The net, no, you were there for it. So like you, yeah. the net is exciting, but it's the thing of the longer you're immersed in this stuff, you're going to be able to find these sort of tangential, subtle connections that sort of imbue so many things with significance and meaning that might not be true in a literal or historical or empirical sense, but they this is the one thing you got right, is sort of on a personal, subjective level, a personal perspective that can allow you to find an insight. And now the caveat I always make here is that it's like we have loads of subjective experiences that allow us to get towards, I don't want to say objective truth, but
that's Robert Brandam's whole bag, not to go on the philosophy kick, but like Robert Brandam's whole theory is that the fact that we have like normative states that we can attribute based on our own, even though this is all our own subjective experience, but we have these normative standards and values in states that we can attribute to ourselves and other people. And that's what supposedly, if you believe his reasoning, allows for quote unquote objective knowledge, like in science and so on.
And that's a little, yeah, but Sheldon Kopp, the quote that I always get from If You Meet the Buddha on the Road, there's no great truth that isn't obvious to the rest of us.
Oh, I agree.
Like the universe is really the grand truths of the universe, truths in quotes, because as we said, we're talking about values and arbitrary things but like so much of these grand mystical insights are things that when you say them are blindingly obvious.
Right.
Everything's connected. Yeah, no shit. and often it isn't so much that you walk away with a pithy phrase. It's very different to say everything is empty, the everything is empty versus knowing everything, the firsthand experience of sunyata, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, or even just, if you want to play it in that kind of way, just having that realization of what something actually is. Everyone's had that moment, right? Where you've been looking at something, right? Off in the distance, or it's a little far, or maybe like, one of those magic fucking pop out photos, right? Like one of those sorts of things. Everyone's had the moment where suddenly just, in without getting into the biomechanics of it or any sort of theory of mind or any of that stuff, where something was indeterminate and you didn't really know what it was. And then suddenly you knew what it was.
Castaneda has so much to say about that, but we're not going to get into it. The point is that this is the sort of thing that I could definitely see somebody having like doing a ritual or having a mystical experience or something like that, or I hate to say like this, somebody dropped acid and could totally walk away with this thing. But the difference is that most of us don't feel like writing it down and telling people because we realize that it's like, yes, it's almost what we were talking about of like being able to laugh at your own ideas and beliefs. It's like, you got to realize on some level that this is kind of silly.
Well, see, that's sort of my problem though. It's because it's like Rorty or like Nietzsche and shit, you could call this like poetic self-creation, how you have these sort of ability to find not literal truth, but like metaphorical kind of ideas.
I think he's quite sure that he's cooking. He's on something.
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
I'm giving you the real shit.
That's what I'm trying to say. It's like,
I'm giving you riboflavin and minerals.
It's one thing to have these sort of ideas and understanding their relation to what we call divinity, what we call transcendence and all that kind of stuff. It's another thing to do it in reverse, right? Where it's one thing to extrapolate out divinity in the human world that we all exist in. It's a whole other thing to say that all of that shit is biomechanical bullshit like the placenta. You know what I mean?
You know what? We're going to get way into the weeds on this one fucking article. God damn it. But I said it before talking to people when I mentioned before, it's like sometimes when you're talking to folks, you got to couch things in a certain way so that they don't think you're crazy. Or maybe you just don't want to get into it. Where I said, it's like, I don't know if ghosts exist, but the experience of ghosts are very real for the people that have them. It's not, it can't be as simple as everybody's making this bullshit up. So I understand that idea of like trying to say that there has to be some kind of basis for how I think I said it in the last episode. This is all in your head because there's nowhere else for it to happen. This isn't horrible. It's not good. But it really does have the characteristic of like something that you would think about and be like, man, that's kind of wild. And you might tell it to like a couple of your homies.
And then one of them would be like, that's fucking weird, bro.
Yeah, but it's like it's ultimately it's one of those things that this is not a hang your hat on kind of idea. This is just sort of like you said, poetic self creation. This is what's the fancy pretentious word? Metapoiesis.
Not
Something like
even
that?
really, because it's sort of just like a weird. Like I said, it's trying to like ground mythology in sort of like the biological reality of humanity, but. Maybe I'm speaking too quickly here because we have another article that might change that up a little bit. Do you want to hear it real quick? I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to read a couple points. This one's called...
We're going to start truncating the rest of these because that one was pretty short. But the rest of these are getting...
This is called Thulian Perspective, the Dwarf, Meaning and Origins. Dwarves. What are they based on? What are they? They were originally maggots in the corpse of Ymir, the primordial Etin. And they were given a human-like shape by the gods. Quite enigmatic, isn't it? The thing
is that the Norse mythology?
The thing is, the Etin, the ogre of the fairy tales, is the twin that we know, for example, from the tale of Romulus and Remus. And that is always killed in the myths. It is killed because it has to. Again, rather enigmatic, isn't it? Yes, it is intentionally so, because the purpose of our mythology was to test the young, their wits, and their ability to remember. Therefore, it was intentionally enigmatic and intentionally impossible. Yes, filled with creatures that don't exist, situations that are absurd, claims that are contradictory, and quite simply impossible. The first step is to uncover the hidden meaning behind these myths and is to acknowledge that this is impossible. Okay, so not reading the rest of this, but going from there is Varg presents a theory that the way this works is that you're supposed to be told these myths as a child. That way you go, that's bullshit. And I know, because I heard this shit before. Because it's all about you're a reborn ancestor and stuff. And he makes a whole lot of comments like dragging people saying, you don't remember because you're not like an old soul. You're not one of the ancestors. You're just like a divine spark that just showed up. You got no history. You got no place. You got nothing. You suck.
Yeah, and your mama owed me $5. But no, for like you musty. Yeah, sorry, I'll stop. But no, but the idea is like you tell children stupid shit so that they go, that's stupid.
Well, and with the idea that if you're an old soul, if you're a fucking ancestor reincarnated, you'll realize this, you'll remember it, and then you'll be able to go to a graveyard and claim your shit.
I am not like, give me back my.
I am not kidding. Hang on.
Give me back my sword, Linda. It's mine.
Those who remembered would, around age 7, be allowed, after proving that they indeed remembered, to enter the burial mounds of their ancestors to claim his possessions, his life, his name, and his spirit for themselves. Therefore, he took his thigh bone, life, his skull, mind/spirit, and his valuables, memories, that he had been buried with, and emerged from the burial mound, the womb of Mother Earth, reborn as him, themselves given to themselves, not born, but reborn.
What's this got to do with dwarves, man? It's just like because dwarves.
And when they did, they were called dwarves.
Oh,
are you ready?
That's why dwarves always have battle axes.
Hang on. Greedy? ? Because they craved for the valuables, gold in the grave, and greedily collected it to repossess it. Small? ? Because they were 7-year-old children. Bearded? ? Because they held the bearded head of their ancestors above their heads when they emerged. Skilled? Well, they held in their hands the only the most precious items they had valued in previous life, well-crafted items of high quality. Underground creatures? Because they emerged from the burial mound.
So you got to bury your stuff with you so that you can get it back later.
Yes, that is the idea.
But that's attachment.
Well, I
that's
guess
why you keep being reborn, asshole. Because you're so hung up on your stuff. You're so hung up on your stuff. You're like, man, all right,
Buddha's like, this is not a good idea, my friend.
Bury me with my copy of NBA Jam. I'm gonna need it later. I already know I'm not getting out this round, guys. God, really? That is such a fascinatingly insane take. I kind of like it. I hate to say it like that. I kind of like it.
If you could detach it from all of like the Nazi white supremacy shit that Varg is
I know
also
it's wrapped up in a lot of shitty ideas, but like it's kind of funny.
Out of its context, if you told me, oh yeah, they're called dwarves because they're 7-year-old children reclaiming
something tells me that this is not an accurate representation of anything.
God, could you imagine 7 dwarves like that? That movie would have done a lot better.
You know what it makes me think of though is that like the dwarf in the Thelemic notions or particularly take a shot, Kenneth Grant.
Oh yeah,
Kenneth Grant describes it almost like the etheric double or sort of a moonchild concept almost, because it's the idea of like it's the projected out energies that coalesce into like, oh, you know what? Almost a homunculus. Oh man, I can't believe I didn't think about that. Like the tiny man.
Crowley refers to the HGA as the dwarf self as well. You know, and Carl Jung has things about dwarfs.
He relates it to the incarnation of Vishnu that is a dwarf.
Right.
And 3 strides circles the 3 worlds. But he relates that to the HGA and Horpar Krot as the babe and egg of blue is like
right, yeah.
Yeah.
So there are if you want to get your dwarf on, then you can. There's definitely areas to get it
even
in.
here, it's almost the idea of the thing behind the manifest coming to fruition.
Yeah, I can see that. But on the other side of it too, it's the same thing I talked about. Well, I mean, on the other side, yeah, it's fucking asinine. But I can see it in a certain sense that it's what I was talking about before. It's turning these very spooky metaphysical ideas into like there's a lived reality here.
Yeah. Well, and there is a lived reality to a lot of these things, but
not that.
This is not something that happened.
I mean, it might have, I guess.
Where did
maybe
he
happened
get
to Varg? Maybe that's where maybe Varg's gonna die, and he's gonna be like, "All right, where's my guitar?"
When I was a young warthog, they took me to burial mounds, and I had to dig out. I had to dig up my copy of my copy of the Velvet Underground. I don't fucking know. How old is this guy? Is that a reference that works? Probably.
I don't know. He's in his 50s, I think. Who cares?
Oh man. So now it had to be something. I had to get
my copy of Triumph of the Will.
Oh man. Why are you so brainy all the time? Should have said my copy of
I Heart Huckabees. How about that?
No, that reference doesn't work. The timeline. You're breaking the timeline. Time traveling dwarf. There's an idea there. All right, next article. Man, Varg is insane, and man, we could do an occult round of just
do Varg. We could just do Varg. Tell you what, actually, we have 3 distinct flavors of Thelema. Well, I don't know if one of them's really Thelema now, but we have 3 people that are in the Thelemic sphere to a certain extent. 1, 2, or 3?
2.
Oh, well, we're not going to have a whole lot to say about this one. This is Severance in the Gnostic Myth. I didn't watch Severance, did you?
No.
All right, let's not talk about it.
0 stars.
0 stars, would not read. No, but the only reason I want to comment on it at all is just because I had this conversation with you so we can have it on the podcast. Why are we always trying to read like mythic and mystical, spooky, woo-woo type ideas into fiction we like?
Because it feels like it's more significant.
Yeah,
like
I guess
becomes more important. Like you can't just like a thing.
Right. Oh, you know what it is too? It's the Evangelion thing. Like where at least Ava has like a sort of a like there's a reason people think that Ava is deeper than it is, like all the religious symbolism and
because they're dumb.
Angels and stuff. Well, yeah, I mean, you know, in multiple times, what's his name? Ano, yeah. Yeah, Ano has been like, it's just, it sounded
it's
cool.
It's aesthetic.
It's
not
pure
aesthetic.
None of this means anything.
Well, there are meanings in what is going on with Evangelion, but it isn't about what a lot of people
it's the stuff that's on the screen. It's what's in the fucking show.
It's about how robots are really cool. But
yeah, it's about how fighting giant robots is cool. It's really dope. And everyone has
it'll make your dad proud of you.
Yeah, but it's sort of I guess it's the sort of death of the author, and like, you know, there's nothing outside the text kind of bullshit where you can just like where this idea that all of these ideas and ways of describing these things are equally valid, which again, I would be talking shit and going to being a hypocrite if I said that they aren't. But I just don't find it particularly useful at all. You know what I mean? I've never reading in spooky subtext to something has never made it more enjoyable for me. And I don't understand why anyone would.
Like I said, I didn't read the article. I haven't watched Severance, so I don't have anything to say about it. It's just, but if we are going down that road, trying to imbue things with and the idea of saying it's a greater significance rather than it's like, no, it's significant in its own right because it's a work of art that people worked on and put together to have certain ideas, whether implicit or explicit.
True.
Yeah. So it's like,
maybe I'm being too hard on it.
But maybe a greater significance in the idea of what the interpreter thinks of it. Sometimes you just gotta enjoy things for what they are, I guess. But like I said, I don't know anything. I didn't read it. I haven't watched the show. I don't know. They might be onto something. They might not be.
Next is my article about how DuckTales is the story of Harama Biff.
Well, you are a genius, and I love you, and 100% correct. It was the best article I've ever read. Next,
Gordon White's still around.
Man, okay. Like I said, that article, you did send me these, and I looked. It's like he was on the Occult Rejects, and he was like, "Hey, for anybody who this seems like it's very much like just a thing. Like, hey, if you're coming in from the Occult Rejects, here's what I'm about." So, yeah, I don't know. He's still doing his thing.
Well, there's one thing in here that I thought was interesting enough to talk about, even if it's just Gordon giving you the lineup on it. Right?
Okay.
This one's called Chaos Magick Explained. I define chaos magic as permanent epistemological and ontological humility in practice. It's powerful because it reduces the ego inflation sometimes found in lodge systems, but philosophically naive in its hyperfixation on practical results above all else. I described chaos magic as an epistemic humility that will trip you up differently than other systems, and noted how my solution to Pete Carroll's prioritization of the material was moving in an animist direction. For me, chaos magic functions more as a developmental stage than a permanent system. What do we think of that?
Well, we've said that quote before. Because he's the one who gave it. He's the one who gave that quote of chaos magic is a big airport.
Right, yeah.
Lots of people coming and going. Very few people stay. It's just morons like us that stay. I mean, the idea of talking about the emphasis on the material, it's like, well, we talked about it last episode. Either the needle moves or it doesn't. If you ever get to the point where your magical system is prioritizing interesting, fun, subjective experience over tangible change in your life. And like I said, a change in your viewpoint, a change in your demeanor, a change in the way you carry yourself in the world counts as a change in the material, you know?
Right. Yeah. A realization of what we were talking about.
It's almost a mistake that your ideas of material, that you're trying to separate material and spiritual, mundane and sacred, whatever, mundane and magical, whatever.
Yeah, subject and object. That's what we're always on about. That's our problem with this immediately is that
it's a false distinction.
Yeah, it's a nonsensical distinction that people use when they don't want to take the gravitas upon themselves to say that what does it mean that my magic can only make me have fancy mental experiences or imaginative experiences or cause maybe like odd coincidences? What's it mean that my magic isn't focused on making things actually happen that would have a material, quote unquote, effect on the world around me?
Well, because even like Crowley would consider all of the yogic practices that he prescribed as part of the magic practice, and those have tangible benefits. Those will change how you are in the world.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we make the mysticism distinction, I suppose, but at the same time, Crowley's emphasis on the will is sort of the most important aspect of any part of his system, anyway, because you do yoga for a reason, you know. Mm-hmm. It's like it's not a good in a religious sense. It's not the same as being like a fucking a Shivite in the charnel ground, you know?
Right.
Maybe Crowley would say it's like that, but it's not like, you know, even these techniques and practices are not being put to the same end per se.
Well, because they exist in a completely different context too.
Right. In a completely
back to
different...
what you said in the last episode of it's hard to be a yogi in the West.
Right. Yeah, completely.
Yeah. But no, for real. And the idea of like, it's caused me to go in an animist direction. It's like, I've fumbled through enough of his stuff to understand the direction that he's talking about and sort of where he's going. And I'm not going to say like, supposedly like, Gordon White's an idiot and he's wrong. Cause he does a lot of great stuff and he's been in the game a lot longer than we have.
Yeah. Still quite controversial at this point too.
Yeah. I mean, like he's making a right wing pivot, but so is Jason Louv and a couple other people. It's like some of them are, I understand COVID caused a lot of hiccups with people. People shift viewpoints over time. And sometimes you think ill intentions of them. Sometimes you think it's like, oh yeah, you're pivoting right wing is like grift. I don't know. I'm not going to touch on that right now, but I do think that in a way, the acknowledgement of that problem is something. However, I don't agree with his solution. When we have our stupid book out that explains,
gives you all the right answers of how magic works.
All the objectively correct answers, then you will all be able to come back and tell us what. No, Mr. CMN guys, you are actually the morons, and it is I who is Frankenstein's monster. I don't know what the fuck that means, but yeah,
okay, okay. The one other thing I want to touch on, just because I'm curious what you think about it, because I have thoughts. It's a big philosophical word, so I like them. But I define chaos magic as permanent epistemological and ontological humility in practice. What do we think of that way of phrasing it? Because it's sort of
words to sound more photosynthesis.
At least the idea behind it, of framing this as like humility. Right? Because in a sense, I think he's talking about the same thing as like guerrilla ontology, as Robert Anton Wilson would say.
Yeah, a model agnosticism or something like to that effect. Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, I mean, sure. Chaos magic does rely on a certain level of openness to differing viewpoints, and the kind of like we were talking about.
That's what I'm going on with that's what I'm going with the constant redescription of different things in the world based on utility.
Oh yeah. I do think that is a certain level of, here's what I'll say. I think he's right. I just don't think that his particular way of going about it or trying to get past it is a viable one. I think it in a certain way, it feels like doubling back on what we've already done.
Yeah, and he falls victim to the same thing I think most chaos magic people even still are doing. It's the privileging of this sort of subjective experience where, his comment about the material kind of leads towards that. It's like it's a privileging of this sort of subjective experience in magic, and I think we can move past that. I think that's what I really want to get to. Let's start doing stuff.
I do know that when we immediately, the fact that we both immediately went, wait. So you're trying to material, like your spiritual material, or you're trying to make the distinction. The fact that we jumped on that as our crux kind of shows where we are on the subject.
Yeah.
We are ultimately a certain type of Heideggerian non-dualism.
Yeah.
How's that for some pretentious nonsense, right?
At least you said it this time.
Everybody fucking paused the episode and winced.
Cringe, bro.
Heidegger was a Nazi.
Yeah.
That's why we think dwarves are cool. I just think dwarves are cool. I'm not a Nazi. I just think dwarves are cool.
Oh shit. Okay. Fuck it. Let's move on.
Consequences Thelema.
Oh god. Okay. So this is called Consensus Thelema Revisited. This is a kind of like an update, I guess, of an earlier article written by this Entelechy person. Good for them. It was a big hit. I saw lots of people sharing it around, talking about it, which kind of goes against the point, I think. I don't really have anything I can even read out of the article. The general idea is that this person thinks that Thelema died a bad death in the 60s and 70s forward by wrapping itself up in the counterculture and then slowly developing into, they use the term thought terminating cliches where nothing means anything. There's no institutional strength for anyone to have any grounded meaning of what Thelema is. I mean, to be honest, it's the exact same shit. We've talked about this before.
Thelema isn't a church, so it's not good. Like, that's why it isn't. It's because they don't have a pope. It's because they don't have a Thelemic pope, right?
Well,
But meanwhile, the guys that are doing Boleskine are like, I don't know. The authority that does seem to exist for Thelema aren't really people that a lot of, it's not just me. I mean, like, I'm not a Thelemite, so I don't really have a dog in the fight. I don't vibe with what they're putting down for the most part. I didn't think Gunther really was all that. I don't think Gunther was all he was cracked up to be.
Yeah, it's the man's dead now, so maybe it's more appropriate to say this now that he's passed. It's like, if J. Daniel Gunther was the best we could do, then what are we doing? And you know, that's to a certain extent he is, because he's the one that was he won.
He did, but that doesn't.
He made Thelema what he wanted it to be. Everyone fell in line around him and his ideas,
but they didn't, because the vast majority of Thelemites were yahoos on the internet trying to figure it out on their own.
Any sort of institution of Thelema fell around him.
Yeah, but we already established the folk Thelemites were the ones that are the predominating force anyway.
Right, of course.
And that had, you know, like, fuck it, I'm still reading Kenneth Grant. I ain't reading Gunther.
I'm going to read two little bits here because it's going to show you what kind of person wrote this. The result of this individualistic emphasis is what I call consensus Thelema, a version of Thelema where each practitioner determines the validity of beliefs and practices based solely on personal reference. Here, the core teachings of Thelema often get reduced to platitudes reminiscent of 1980s corporate slogans. Think different. Just do it. Be yourself in this way. Thelema's challenge to bourgeois morality has softened into a consumerist mentality where the measure of spiritual path is not how it transforms or challenges, but simply how well it fits into one's lifestyle. Do you really think that Thelema challenges bourgeois morality? As if we're not all constantly living in bourgeois morality, as if Crowley didn't live in bourgeois morality. And I know in their minds, they're thinking that I just don't understand this idea of how a radical pursuit of freedom is anti-bourgeois. Like in the sense that like Marx himself is bourgeois.
Yeah. Okay. I get what
you know what I mean? Like that's sort of the thing. That's exactly what I'm getting at here. It's like, it's funny to me that someone that's so concerned about people using little pithy phrases that they would choose that one. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just feels like it's betraying something.
Okay. Well, and it turns into the idea of like, what if your answer is like some sort of hierarchical structure that really solidifies Thelema? Fine, but I just think you're going to be very disappointed.
What are you doing at this point? The fact that they're revisiting this article just feels like someone doing the greatest hits. It feels like it's more here so you go, hey, you remember that thing that people liked? I did that thing.
In the same way that we talked about Chaos Magick, the one of the flaws of Chaos Magick is, I think I described it as the lack of shared gnosis, like the idea of like, we're all caught up in what we're all doing on a personal level rather than looking at how they can mesh together as a whole or what other people are doing and this, that, and the ways in which someone else's spiritual practice can inform yours, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, the measure of how effective somebody's spiritual practice is, results be thy proof. And then the only proof, I described it when I was talking about crossing the abyss. When somebody says that, you have to go through a whole host of discernment, you have to go through a whole host of markers of figuring out is what this person is saying even worth me paying attention to, They said they got this attainment and this happened. And well, it's like, well, anybody can say whatever the fuck. Let me look at this person and say, is there anything meaningful about this? Is there anything that I think is worth a fuck about this individual? And I don't think that the answer is like to do what the Catholic Church does or to do like what, all the Vajrayanas do, where it's like, oh, you got like 6 people to go and confirm that you're a reincarnation of so-and-so because you picked up a brush for a donkey. It's like, fuck, there is a way out. It's just, the problem is that it doesn't look like anything we've done before. It has to involve an earnest, actually, you know what it is? It involves growing the fuck up. I hate to keep saying this. It involves growing up and having to make your own decisions and realize what liberation in an individual, in a society, in an idea of itself looks like, and figuring out what that means. And you're like, well, if everybody's just so individualistic, it's going to water it down and turn into this and that's like, that shit's going to happen anyway. It's going to happen anyway. It was happening before. It was happening before you even had words for this bullshit. Because, like, you know what occultism has always been mired with? Idiots and charlatans and liars.
Yeah.
There's just not a whole, there's sadly a constant game of having to fight against a wave of mediocrity and losers that are either trying to get money off of you or convince you that they're a big important so-and-so.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I think this person, I don't think that their solution is necessarily like, we need like Thelema Pope. And I don't think that their solution is rooted, I don't think that their critique of this situation is rooted in anything other than a genuine concern that they want Thelema to become something better than what it is now. But here, I'm going to read this last little part and you'll see you'll understand where I'm coming from with this, I think. For Thelema to remain relevant, it must evolve. This doesn't mean abandoning the commitment to an individual will or personal growth, but it does mean moving beyond a cultural critique limited to vague notions of resistance or liberation. The world no longer looks like it did in Crowley's time or even the 1960s. The challenges we face today demand a more robust and integrated approach, one that can balance personal liberation with collective responsibility.
Okay.
What this is
Sure.
this whole article is this person discussing their issues with the contemporary world and then just relating it back to Thelema. And that's the problem with Thelema, is that the people aren't any different than the rest of the world. So Thelema has failed.
Yeah, mostly.
If you were all good Thelemites, you wouldn't be sitting. I mean, so that's what I'm getting. Like, if the people that are overwhelmingly the people propagating the law of Thelema were genuinely different, if they were genuinely living by not even like the holy books per se, let's say like something like Liber Oz. If you just follow what Liber Oz says earnestly, you'd be living a radically different life than most of the people involved in STAR, because most of them are just regular fucking jerk-offs like us, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's it. That's what it is. That they're mostly normal fucking people living normal lives that have normal thoughts.
When you're talking about like cliches and pithy thoughts and that sort of thing, it's like one that can balance personal liberation with collective responsibility. What does that actually mean? What does that look like? What does that entail? I don't know. I wish you had more.
I mean, what is it? Is it socialism? Is that what we're talking about?
Are we talking about socialism?
Because Crowley hated
communism? Are we talking about anarchism? Are we talking about
are we talking about
like
just fixing the liberal democratic system we're in? Are we talking about not politics? Are we talking about breaking outside of social norms that currently exist? Are you just not in favor of those ones?
Yeah, which collective responsibilities are we referring to? Are we talking about are we talking about like the climate collapse we're going through? Are we talking about the fact that there are people with nuclear weapons that could end the world at a moment's notice? Like what collective responsibility do we have?
Is it just collective responsibility to Thelema?
Yeah. Like, what does that mean? What does that look like? Do you have it? And I don't remember who told me, but it's like pointing out a problem without a solution is just bitching. And I understand. Sometimes you just need to bitch. Sometimes you need to just get off your chest. But with something like Thelema, it's like, if you're seeing a problem and you're not offering anything, like what the hell are we supposed to do? What are we?
Well,
what are we talking about?
what their
You're
answer,
just complaining.
Their answer is collectivism. Like, that's literally what it is. They're just saying,
believe me, I get it. Believe me, I get it. I don't like r/Thelema either. But what is your solution, Chief?
I mean, it just, like I'm saying, it sounds like a leftist critique of society with Thelema thrown in, and not even a particularly good one. What's the problem with Thelema is that you're not different than the rest of the world, I guess?
Yeah, you guys suffer all of the same problems.
And just raising my hands here, I consider myself a Thelemite, so I'm part of the problem. And the article I just wrote, also boo the article I wrote. But the article I wrote says much the same thing, that what's the problem with Chaos Magick? Well, it's the privileging of this sort of subjective experience, the fact that we don't have anywhere to start and all we have is our sort of normative collective things that we deal with. And I compare it to liberalism. It's like we had very radical ideas in liberalism that were very forward pushing at the time. You know, they were truly revolutionary ideas. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
And now they're not.
They're still revolutionary in a sense, but are they revolutionary in a way that will bring about socialism? Perhaps not. Are they revolutionary in a way that could lead to fascism? Perhaps so.
Ooh.
Outside of that, Chaos Magick is the same way. Peter Carroll's equation of perception and will, the subjective experience and how that affects the material world we deal with, so on and so forth. These were very radical ideas. The arbitrary nature of systems, the pragmatic reduction of various magical practices was incredibly revolutionary. If anyone tells you otherwise, they're fucking lying and they haven't read Peter Carroll. But now they are holding us back. They are holding us back from going anywhere. And the fact is, because it's not Thelema, we've already said this, it's not going back to the BGM, it's not being a fucking Golden Dawner. Chaos Magick is where it's happening. The only place where magic can truly move forward is here because we haven't gotten past it yet. Just kind of like what this person's complaining about, just like capitalism, just like bourgeois society. So, you know, we're all in the same boat here. The only way out is forward. The only way out is through.
Well, here, we'll use the Gordon White metaphor. It's like Chaos Magick is the big airport. You got to get on the fucking plane, bro. It's going to take you. But you're not going to another airport. You got to go somewhere or to boldly go.
Man, okay. We have gone way too fucking long.
How about we will save a certain Nazi adjacent person for another day. We will save an oldie but a goodie for another time. Let's wrap up with a delicious look into something that happened in the first episode of CMN.
Okay.
I met a cheese fortune teller and she told me where I had to travel next. We're back on cheese mancy, bro.
We are back, baby. The tyromancy has returned.
Look, hold on. I'm going to go to the fridge. I'm going to get a block of cheddar and we're going to hammer this out. Bring it home. We're going to end strong. I was skeptical about the goat, but then it emerged. That was me walking in, telling him about Oh boy. Do you see it with the horns and the mouth? Jennifer Billock, who practices tyromancy, the art of divination through cheese. Tyromancy was mentioned in the 2nd century writing of Greek historian and professional diviner
Artemidorus,
our boy.
That's our boy.
Artemidorus of Daldis, a man who hated cheese and felt cheese divination sullied the work of true diviners.
Wait a minute. So Artemidorus is not our boy. Boo, Artemidorus.
I'm pretty sure we mentioned him the last time.
We did mention him, but I don't think we realized that he hated cheese.
He hated cheese? He hated cheese? How do you hate cheese? What is with Greeks hating delicious food?
Yeah, man. Fucking Pythagoras hates beans.
Artemidorus hates cheese. Get the fuck on. Come on. What next? Socrates hated chicken?
Greek cuisine weird.
Cheese has always played a role in magical practices dating back to ancient Greece and Rome. Both the Greeks and the Romans included cheese in their offerings to deities. She mentioned that if you're traveling to the United Kingdom, you can visit a cheese well in Scotland where centuries ago people threw pieces of cheese into the well. Oh, like a wishing well.
But with cheese. I'm not going to give up my cheese, though.
Billick asked me to choose 4 cheeses, past, present, future, and a question, and email her photos of the labeled wedges.
Oh my God, what?
The best type of cheese for readings overall is usually a blue. Adding that veiny cheeses or cheeses with texture are the best for tyromancy.
Oh my God.
You know what, man? You're coming over tomorrow, and we are doing charcuterie.
Oh gosh,
as the French say.
We'll see what our future is.
And I will do a cheese divination for you. And
well, hey, according to this article, you can contact Miss Billock over Zoom for 45 per solo session or per person of groups 30.
Look, here's the problem, right? We go on a lot about like people just like, I mean, on one hand, everybody's got to make a buck, but two, it's like there's people that are just so very disingenuous and don't have their, like just being kind of hucksters and stuff like that. But there's something so just absolutely hilarious and endearing about the cheese divination that I find it hard to even be upset about it.
Well, I mean, I've never had a problem with anyone charging for divination. If that's what you want to do, I've always just been the advocate of like, you should learn to do it yourself. But I mean, I'm also a hypocrite there because sometimes I'm like, I ain't got it today. Co-host, give me a reading.
I pull out a craft single.
For my question, I'd originally selected an aged manchego, But when I learned that my friend could join our Zoom call from Croatia, I swapped it for a Paski Sir Pag cheese, a 6 months aged sheep milk cheese from Pag Island, Croatia. Martina Pernara Sunka? Whatever, I can't fucking read that. Goddamn. Who heads the marketing for Pascas Serrana, one of the factories that produces the island's award-winning cheese. Okay, they're doing an ad in the middle of the article. Great. Provided a wedge specifically for the tyromancy session, and definitely because I was allowed. They said if we promote this in the article, you can have it.
Wait. People are getting cheese sponsorships? Why don't we get cheese sponsorships?
We've been fans of cheese from day one.
Oh, God.
We was there when it was just occurred.
You don't understand what is occurring right now.
Because this cheese and its island home inspired my debut novel. Now you're plugging. The Cheesemaker's Daughter. They wrote a cheese book. I see why they're talking to the cheese witch.
I love everything about this. I mean, I should hate it, but I love it.
My question was, how will future travels impact my creative life? The forecasts look good. Your dragon is flying right into this flower, which is taking initiative to move forward and go into a place of growth.
Hovering over the patterns of the rind on the cursor. Oh man, I'm so down.
So it's just going to help your creativity bloom even more.
Just saying, yeah.
She then
I see the shapes in the cheese. It's like looking at clouds, basically, but cheese. Okay. What if you like melt the cheese and pour it over chips, and then like you do the divination based on like the pattern as it moves over the tortilla chips?
This cheese looks like I'm going to be mildly constipated later.
Can the cheesemancer predict my lactose intolerance?
Okay. What else did we?
No. What do you mean? You think we're gonna you don't think we're done with it? This is it.
You're
dude.
right. We're done. We can't go farther than the cheese.
Oh boy. All right, viewers, tell us your favorite cheese.
Yeah, listeners, comment your favorite cheese below,
and we'll do a reading.
And if you're on Spotify, tell us.
Just email us. Get on Signal.
All right, and with that, it's time for the palate cleanser.
How goes the work?
Yep.
Oh man, I'm really just trying to cultivate the aura. I don't mean that in any like serious sense. Just
aura.
The aura, the vibe. I'm trying to cultivate that presence that I felt when my working for Lent concluded on Good Friday. It was really powerful, and I'm trying to just keep that with me. We're about a week out, and it's been very interesting. It's like I said, it's that feeling of despite going through tribulation, you just realize how much further you have to go. How many times you got to cross that road, I guess. But that it is very much that feeling of seeing what's behind all of the what is the thing? What is the clearing and the opening for being, but behind all of the ups and downs, the fluctuations, the cravings, the compulsions, all that stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. But I also read the same books that you did.
Yeah,
and used the same words.
I also have a very smart and very just a very dedicated and dear Dharma brother who's always there when I have issues or when I need to talk about something. So,
Randy's great, ain't he?
Shut up. I love you, you schmuck.
We're getting sappy on the pod.
Yeah,
after we were so mean to everyone else, now we're gonna be nice to each other.
So the only two people left to be nice to. That's not true. We have all of these lovely, lovely listeners.
All the lovely listeners. Okay.
What about you? What you been doing?
Oh man. Since Easter, I haven't done anything spectacular. I mean, I concluded my Lent working, which might turn into an annual thing now. Like we need more annual rituals at CMN. We got
Chaturthi's coming up.
It is coming up. Oh,
it's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah.
I will say one interesting aspect of all of this, right? When you understand the significance of the mother goddess and the sun as her symbol. Kenneth Grant talked about that. But when you look at it, you see it propagate in a lot of ways, of Horus as the son of Isis, the Minotaur as the son of Pasiphae, Jesus as the son of Mary. There is an interesting thing. And when you realize the magician as the son, the magician as emblematic of the son or as emblematic of the child of the great mother. You might need to cut that. That's a little out there.
Nah.
But as the Buddhist would tell you, and it's like, who is the ultimate mother? Emptiness.
I can't even add anything to that. That's beautiful, man.
It's only because we've read the same books. Someone is in the comments right now going, "You stupid motherfucker!"
And
you
guess
don't know
what?
shit about cheesemancy.
And you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna have compassion for them.
Well, they're part of our sangha, so they
Yeah.
have to. You got to.
But it's also your true will to be an asshole in the comments if that is your true will.
Yeah, just follow it, man.
Just follow your bliss.
If he be a king, you can't hurt him, right? So
Just
come on,
do
strike
it.
low.
Other
Strike hard and low.
cliches.
Strike hard and
Cliches.
cliches.
Consensus. Well, with that, this has been Chaos Magick News.
The only podcast that is putting out not shitty articles. That's not true, actually. You know who does good articles?
Who?
Tommy motherfucking Kelly.
Ah, yeah.
That man even goes back through his articles and he's like, hey, I wrote this like a couple years back and this is what I think about it now.
Yeah, he did a whole big Redux project that he finished like a month ago.
He just finished it? Shit.
If you guys haven't read any of Tommy Kelly's Adventures in Woo Woo blog stuff, please go check it out. Tommy is one of our favorite people and we don't talk about them enough because we're usually talking about shitty people.
Yeah, he's a dope motherfucker.
Yep.
He's everything right with occultism these days.
Yeah. I even said so in my article. Speaking of which, if you want more articles from people that aren't asking you to pay money for them even, or, aren't using words like bourgeois society to sound more photosynthesis, well, you're not going to get that. I do that a lot. But you could get them over at chaosmagicnews.com, where we will have said articles. I just posted one. It's called Difference to Practice, Pragmatism.
I'm putting out an article about probably dwarves still.
Yeah, probably dwarf. You also get links to the show, links to our exciting interview series, which is about to kick off again in a huge way.
We've got
so
many interviews lined up
Our
already.
fingers have
be
been
so great.
Our fingers have been burnt to the bones from clicking on keyboard saying, "Will you please talk to us?
Talk to us, please, please, please."
If you don't want any of that stuff, maybe you want something a little more digestible. Like a spicy meme.
How is it digestible if it's spicy?
Oh, yeah.
If you want something that'll give you indigestion on a mimetic sense, you can find it at Chaos Magick News, where we're on Facebook and Instagram, and we're not really on Twitter anymore. I'm sorry for that. But we are on Blue Sky at CMN Pod because someone took Chaos Magick News, and I'm going to fucking find you.
If that's not enough for you, you can help support the objectively best podcast in the occult world today by going to patreon.com/chaosmagicnews, where for $5 a month, not only do you get to help support us, not only do you get bonus content like our occult iceberg series that we've been doing, or a possible reaction video that might be up in the very near future.
And we still got the Zoetic Grimoire that we got to do.
Oh, we still have to do the Zoetic Grimoire. See, we're always doing stuff, all sorts of things for you, just
All
for
kinds of
$5
cool
a month. And if that really won't convince you, what if I told you we get to read your name
Right here. Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
Fuck. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Cios93. Thank you, Pope Loki Sater of the 23rd LLC. Thank you, Obsbleck. Thank you, Coco. Thank you, Alexander. Thank you, Acolyte 1 of the Ice Magic Meditation Society. Thank you, Curse T. Thank you, Fyodor Krasny. Thank you, Venus Christ. Thank you, Tent Athena. Thank you, Bearded Vegan. Thank you, Tremov. Thank you, Tangy Darling. Thank you, DD Destruction. Thank you, Toziel Obscurus. Thank you, Lavender Ghost. Thank you, Tommy Kelly. Thank you, Clodvis. Thank you, Cyrenix Flux. Thank you, Marcia Mendoza. Thank you, Archaic. Thank you, Michael Lamara. And thank you to the local family.
We love all of you.
Every single one of you is the
great.
best.
That list gets longer and longer, and I'm just shocked every fucking time. And
I know,
I'm
right?
also shocked about you, listener, who is still here hearing this.
Yeah.
You got what you guys do. Like, the fact that you listen all the way through really means the most. The fact you listen at all is amazing.
Yeah, and if you don't support us on the Patreon, we still love you. Thanks for everything you do. Thanks
the fact
for listening.
That you listen,
thanks for sharing
comments,
it around.
You're sharing it around. All of it, man. You guys are great, and you really do make this worthwhile.
Yeah. So,
well, with all of that, would you like the last word?
I just found $100.
What?
Yeah, I just found $100.
What are you fucking talking about? What do you mean?
It's for motion picture use only. What a joke.
Oh, fuck.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Are you there?
No. Funnier every time.
It's pretty good.